If you're working in sales right now, you've probably been told that the logical next step in your sales career is to become a sales manager, a sales director, eventually some vice president of sales somewhere, and work your way up the sales hierarchy. As somebody who's done that, I'm here to tell you that that's absolutely one of your options. I was an immensely successful sales manager for a cybersecurity startup. I was making well into the six figures and doing really well for myself. And today I run a seven-figure business. I think that moving into a sales management role is a worthy thing to shoot for, but there are a lot of other options. And I think that it's very important that you understand some of the dark sides of sales management before you move into this type of career and understand some of the available options out there as an alternative, because I wish that somebody had told me this when I was starting my sales career. If you're new here, welcome. My name's David Schlace. I am a ex-six-figure salesperson, sales manager, turned seven-figure entrepreneur. I've spent the last 10 years building my business and building myself. My entire channel is dedicated to helping sales reps overcome the challenges that I encountered. So if that sounds like you, hit me with a follow and drop a comment down below that says sales, so I know that I'm reaching the right people on my brand new channel here. Now, here's what nobody tells you about sales management and something that I wish somebody had told me. Now, in my sales career, I did really well for myself. Let's set the scene a little bit here. I started as a BDR. I was one of the first hires on the team. I was first in, last out. Ended up having a really amazing territory and an opportunity to build out some of the first territories at the company that I was working for at a cybersecurity startup. They recognized my work ethic and they gave me the opportunity to build out the first inside sales team and hire some people, mature the practice, and grow the company. Together with my team, I took that company from about 14 million to 40 million in about 3 years, and the company was acquired by a private equity firm in 2016. Now, I was really excited for my promotion to management. I worked really hard for it. I thought that that was the next step for me, and I could see what my career looked like from there, especially with as quickly as I was moving up the ranks. I made manager in like 18 months after joining this company. Eventually, I would become a director, and eventually I'd become a vice president of sales somewhere. I could see that happening in the next 5-ish years based on my trajectory, and I really bought into that. I thought that that was a great next step for me. Now, the reality started to set in a little bit here in a number of different ways that I really didn't expect. The biggest thing was that I didn't realize that as I moved into a management role, I now was going to be put in a position where I wasn't just responsible for one quota, I was responsible for the quotas of 10 people. And I felt a lot like a parent. I felt like I had to manage everybody. There were territory disputes, there was attribution disputes, there was fights over who should get what leads. There was all these different factors and all these different things that were taking me away from my zone of genius and what I was really good at, which was building relationships, creating new accounts, closing deals, and all of these things that made me feel alive as a salesperson. I also slowly started feeling the feelings of autonomy that I had as a sales rep, as an individual contributor, being ripped away from me as my role just became more and more bureaucratic by the day. I found that my calendar started getting filled with more and more management meetings, check-ins, dashboard reviews, all of these things that were pulling me away from what I actually wanted to be doing. And on top of this, what they don't tell you is that at most organizations, when you're promoted to a manager, you still carry a bag, which means that you still have your own territory to manage, you still have your own opportunities to manage, in addition to all of your now direct reports and their quotas that you're responsible for. The thing that I think was the harshest thing of this entire process for me, though, was as I started moving my way up the corporate ladder, as I shared in my video from last week, if you go and watch that one, I really started becoming less and less true to myself and what I wanted to be doing. I fell into sales by default. It wasn't the first career path that I would have chosen for myself. And as I climbed the ranks and as I started getting paid more and more money, the golden handcuffs that everybody talks about in sales really started to become a real thing. The price of my lifestyle started going up. As my income went up, I started taking more trips. I really started to enjoy this new lifestyle that I was building for myself. And it pulled me further and further away from things that I truly valued in my core as a human being, like freedom, autonomy, ability to choose my own path and to do what I wanted to do. And it became more and more corporate, bureaucratic, and career-oriented. This is one of the untold things about sales managers. Like, if you look at what they're actually doing, they're really choosing a path of safety in place of their own dreams and aspirations. It's a pretty sad place to be, honestly. There's no worse place in corporate America than middle management. And I truly think that sales managers are in one of the harshest positions that you can possibly be in. Your performance, your job is basically measured to the performance of 10 people who, yes, have some things in their control, but have many things out of their control, and you're in charge of enabling them. And it's a really, really difficult role to be in. And I think that it's honestly just a crock of crap that people talk about sales management being like this amazing opportunity for sales reps. And if you look at my TikTok comments, if you look at people that engage with me on social media that are in the manager role, they're like, dude, sales management sucks. And I completely agree. So what is the other option then, right? If you're in sales and you've been investing in your career and you've learned this amazing skill set that is sales and you've been making a lot of money at it, what are your options then, right? Like you can start over, you can take a pay cut, you can go into project management, you can go back to school, learn to be a developer or, something. What really are your options, right? They seem very, very limited. And to me, I felt very trapped. I felt super limited. And I remember I was on a trip to Jamaica with my wife, and I had this realization while floating in the surf. I was like, I just realized I hate my job. It was the first break that I took in a long time, and I really had an ability for my thoughts to clear. And I realized that I hated my job, and I wanted to be doing anything else other than being a sales manager, because the direction that my life was on was not the one that I would have chosen for myself. And I remember going through these options. I was like, I could become a project manager, I could go back to school, I could go and get some sort of like trade job or something really respectable and underrated. But as I was going through this journey as a sales rep, I was scratching this curiosity that I had around entrepreneurship, right? I had tried starting 3 different businesses. I tried a music blog, I tried a database for musicians and AR reps to connect them, and I tried a vitamin subscription company, which actually turned out to be a pretty amazing idea. But I just didn't have the cash to start that type of business and really make it successful. So wasted a couple $1,000s on all these businesses and shut them down. But following that trip to Jamaica, I remember having the itch again. And I was like, okay, I could go and do these other things, but what if there's another option? What if there's some business out there that I could start that uses my sales skills to make me successful? And I remember I reached out as soon as I got back to my now business partner, Derek, who I'd known for a long time and was also at a very similar place in his sales career, doing really well, making 6 figures, like hitting it out of the park. And I texted him and I was like, hey, I've been thinking about starting a business. I'm not sure what business I want to start yet though. Would you be interested in joining me on this journey? And he got back to me right away. He's like, whoa, this is super out of nowhere, but I've actually been feeling the exact same way. Not sure what you're thinking, but let's have a chat. Let's connect. So we reconnected and we did our research and decided to join forces as a partnership and really started digging into what opportunities were available, like the classic things, dropshipping, affiliate marketing, like all these things came up. But we came across this business model called an LGA, or a lead generation agency, and it immediately caught our attention for one single reason. We could use our sales skills to get clients, and we could deliver services to clients that were a good match for our sales skills. So it felt like 90% of starting this business was already out of the way. And if you're curious about more about this business, I've got a super long video. I'll link it in the description down below, and it'll be on the screen when this video ends at the end. So you can just click it there. And I walk through this business model in great detail, but it's not really what this video is about. And we were like, hey, this just seems like a good fit. It seems like we know 90% of what we need to do to make this business successful. So we started it. And I remember I was traveling all the time at this point. I was on the road for like 2 to 3 weeks out of every single month, traveling to these cities, Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, Vegas, all over the place. And we started building this company. And we set it up in like a Saturday. And I remember it was just like the most rewarding thing ever, because I felt like I was tapping into that part of myself that I had just let go dormant, right? We started calling people. We started emailing people about this new business idea that we had. And we didn't really know like what exactly we were doing yet. There weren't courses or anything that we could take at the time, but we knew that with our sales skills, we could make it successful because we know how to sell, right? We were going to be honest with people. We're new at this. We had this vision for this company. We'd love to work with you for a discount, and it worked. We ended up getting our first client in 2 weeks. We did a free trial for a client first, I should mention, where we worked with them for free. It was like a hair salon. And then we got our first client paying us 2 weeks after that for almost $3,000 per month to manage and grow their social media and bring them leads. They were a screen printer in Detroit, Michigan. Never met them in person. And the moment that wire hit our bank account for $3,000, it was like game over. I had just closed Nike for the company I was working for, and it took me 18 months to close that deal. And my first commission payment was like $3,000. And I closed this deal for my agency that I started in 2 weeks and made almost $3,000. And from that point on, we were off to the races. And if you're watching this, I just want you to know the limiting beliefs that you have in your mind around, I don't have experience, I'm just a salesperson. These are all cope And you do. You know how to build relationships. You know how to go out there and knock on doors. And just by basically understanding a business model like this, I'm not saying LGA is the only one. That's the business that we run, but it's a great one. And there's others out there like it. I just think it happens to be the best for sales reps. I'm obviously biased, but you have what it takes. And I think that a lot of people just say that the sales reps are just dumb sales reps and they should stay out of the way of the technical people and all this stuff. And I'm here to tell you that if you just take back your power, if you just bet on yourself, you can be far more successful and you can multiply your income much faster than you ever will moving up the sales ranks. Today, we run a 7-figure business. I make far more in a year than I ever would have as a vice president of sales. And I don't have to report to a boss. I'm the captain of my own ship. I have freedom. Every day feels like a puzzle that I get to solve. And all these amazing things that, again, I would have just completely let die on the vine if I was still on that sales career path. And I was just talking to my wife the other night. We're in the process of actually selling our home here and going on the road full time. And I was like, I can't believe it's been 10 years. And I can't believe that I could have not made that decision and been like a director or vice president of sales right now. And I can't believe like how unhappy I would be. So that's why I wanted to make this video, is for you guys that are the sales reps right now. Maybe you're a sales manager right now and this is like resonating with you. Let me know in the comments. I want to connect with any of you that I can. And if you'd like to have a chat about setting up a business like this and putting together a plan, I've helped 1,300 sales reps quit their jobs, set up their own company, and have freedom in their lives. There's a link to my calendar in the description down below, as well as that video that I mentioned where I walk through this whole business model and explain it in greater detail. Check that out. Connect with me on socials. Hit me with a subscribe to the channel. Love connecting with any sales reps that I possibly can. Much love.